Hi, welcome everyone. This is episode 90 of the Knitting Expat Podcast. Welcome, my name is Mina and I'll be your host today. And I'm coming to you from New York in the US, New York City. And today is the Wednesday, 28th of December. Sorry, I had a moment there. And you can find all the links to places you can find me online below the video description on YouTube, or wherever else you're watching this video. There'll be links below the video to all my social media stuff. Just sorry, I feel like I'm out of practice, but anyway, it's only been a week. I'm not sure why. I'm not feeling 100% today. I don't know if you can hear it, but I've been having the onset of a bit of a sore throat for the last few days. It's really weird actually, because usually with sore throats for me it's like one day build up and then it hits full on and becomes a cold and then it's horrible. This one's sort of been building gradually since Christmas Day actually. So I sound a bit croaky, a bit hoarse. I'm okay, I'm just a bit sniffly and a bit sore, but we'll see how this goes. I think this will be a sort of relatively long-ish podcast, hopefully not too long, but this is sort of my year-end review episode, and so there's going to be quite a bit of stuff to go over. Before I do get started though, I wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who is coming back to watch the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in week after week, and for those of you who are new, thank you so much for checking me out. I really appreciate you taking the time to check out the podcast. I'm also 32 weeks pregnant now. Halfway through 32 weeks. I'll be 33 weeks in a couple of days. It's been going well. My back's not been too bad lately, which is nice. I've just been resting a lot, to be honest, and trying to not overexert myself, I guess. It's probably the best way to put it. And you can see my two cats in the background. That's Hugo there, is just getting up and plodding over. And Derek is just here. He usually doesn't hang out for the podcast, but Hugo seems to want to come over and say hi and sit on my lap, which is quite typical for him. Hey buddy. If you've been following me on Instagram, you'll know that he isn't feeling 100% either. We suspect he has a UTI or like cystitis, which is something that Derek has had in the past, which is our other cat. So if you've been watching the podcast for a while, you may be aware of that. But he seems to be doing okay. His behaviour hasn't changed that much since we found out he was not. It's just really that with cystitis or with the UTI, in male cats anyway, it can be quite dangerous if they get a blockage in their bladder and stuff. So thankfully it doesn't seem to be completely blocked, but he is struggling to pee essentially. But his behaviour otherwise hasn't changed. He still eats and drinks just as much as he used to. So we took him to the vet yesterday. I'll do more of an update later in the week in review, but he's just sliding off my leg there. Hey, come on, I'm gonna sit up. We'll see how long he'll hang around. Finally, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's introduced themselves in the introduction thread. I've really appreciated it, and I've been really enjoying reading your stories and your introductions. I think what I'm going to do next time my podcast it'll be 2017. So what I'll probably do is I'll reintroduce myself and give a bit more background about me in that first episode of the new year. For any new people or whatever who haven't had a chance or are not inclined to want to go back and watch all 90 episodes of this podcast, which, to be quite honest, I don't blame you if you don't go back and watch them all. I have zero expectations from anybody, to be honest, to do that, because it's a massive time commitment. And I'm really impressed with people that do. I do get messages from people about that. So anyway, we have a coupon code thread in the group, in the Ravelry group, which is Knitting Expat on Ravelry. Knitting Expat Podcast on Ravelry, sorry. So there's a coupon thread in there. People who have online stores related to the fibre crafts can put up whatever coupon codes they have running at the time, whether they be specific to this podcast or in general. So feel free to go and check those out. And also just another quick little reminder that I'm hosting my first ever mystery knit along starting on the 1st of January. It's a worsted weight shawl in 3 colours. The pattern is already available for like advanced purchase, I guess. The first clue will come out on the 1st of January in the morning, and you'll get an email notification on Ravelry, and if you have it set up, it should come to your email as well when the first clue is released. And now he's going to shake the camera because he's gone to investigate the box it sat on. So apologies for any shaking. So yeah, it's all there. All the information for what you need is there. There's also a chatter thread in the podcast group where I am trying to be really active in keeping up with answering people's questions. People having questions about colour choices and yarn choices and stuff like that, so by all means pop in there and see if someone's already asked your question and it's already been answered, or ask a question if you can't find what you're looking for, or just come join in the chatter. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. And I think that pretty much covers it. The other thing for the mystery knit along, the pattern is on sale for $3 at the moment. You don't need to do anything. The discount is just automatically applied at checkout. And that's only valid until the end of this year. Once the knit along starts, it goes up to $4, and then once the last clue is released, it goes up to its full price at $5. Alright, so first things first, before we jump into finished objects and works in progress and all of the usual podcast things, I wanted to do my year-end statistics for 2016. So, and where I have the stats from last year, I will do the comparison as well. I don't have it completely for everything, but I will do comparatives to last year. So this year, in terms of meterage, like actual meters knit into projects, 57,957 meters have been knit. So that's almost 58 kilometers. Last year I knit 49,698, so significantly more, about 8,500 meters more this year than last year. Grams knit, I knit 17.3 kilos worth of yarn this year, so that's 17,301 grams. I used 275 skeins of yarn. Now, when I say I used 275 skeins, that's new skeins out of my stash. I don't count the scraps as skeins in my stash. They are scraps and they don't count as stash in that sense. And to be honest, a lot of my scraps I've already sort of either used or divided up into mini skeins and given away. I do still have quite a lot of scraps, but I have ideas of what I'm going to do with that in the new year. So I count a skein as being used once it's been wound up and balled up or been used, even partially, I count it as used. And then if I use the rest of that yarn for another project, I don't count it as another skein out. It's just because that skein's already been counted out once. And I don't have any stats on how many skeins I used last year because I didn't start keeping track of that until May, so it's not really comparable. And then completed projects this year, I've completed, or I will have completed, because I've counted my whips as completed projects because I know I'll have them finished before the new year. By the end of the year, I will have completed 178 projects based on what my current whips are. I do have 1 or 2 other projects that I could potentially start and finish before the end of the year, but I'm not counting those because I haven't started them yet. So 178 completed projects by the end of 2016. Last year was 123, so I seriously upped my production this year. Although I have to say I knit a lot more baby things this year, which are much quicker knits, and then some other things. So I think on average, when you look at it, it's not too bad. And also the soccer-thon in January kind of really bumped up those numbers quite significantly. So in terms of how that breaks down into different project types, I knit 90 pairs of socks this year, or I will have once my 2 whips are finished. I'll have 90 pairs of socks this year compared to 40 pairs last year. I knit 15 hats this year compared to 21 last year. I knit 6 cowls this year compared to 7 last year. and 19 shawls this year compared to 29 shawls last year. So it seems like I knit a lot more accessories last year than this year. Adult garments, I knit 6 adult garments this year compared to 10 last year. I slowed down on that. I had wanted to knit more. I think this year it's just with the move and everything else, and then over the summer not feeling 100% with being pregnant and stuff, so I just didn't knit as much as I had initially thought I would on garments. Baby knits, however, I knit 4 last year, and this year I've knit 33. So that's anything from a baby blanket down to baby socks, including baby sweaters and hats and anything that's baby garment related counted in there. So like I didn't count baby hats twice, so don't count under my hat count. The hats is just adult hat sizes. And then I have 8 miscellaneous projects compared to 12 from last year. Miscellaneous could be something like a little ornament or like mittens, because I only think I only knit 1 pair of mittens this year, so I just counted that as miscellaneous, and things like that. Just the little things that didn't warrant having its own category. I also finished 1 sock yarn blanket this year. I added 94 squares to my mitered square blanket, which finished it off. And I also knit 17 pinwheel blocks for my pinwheel scrap blanket, which I'm hoping to finish next year. I think I will go for either 25 or 30 blocks to finish that one off. So not too, well, about halfway there, I guess. And then, yeah, I think I'll do 25 blocks first, seam it all together, see how that looks. And if I feel like it needs to be a little bit bigger, then I will add another row or 5 blocks to it. In terms of designing, last year I published 10 patterns and had 2 more ready to go, sort of like in the process of being finalized by the end of last year. And this year I have published 24 patterns on Ravelry. Those are self-published patterns this year, and 2 more that I submitted and published with Rib magazine. And I have almost another 10 patterns in various stages of being written up and tested and prototyped and tech edited and stuff like that at the moment, that I am working on getting to various stages of getting ready to publish. I have 2 that are basically ready to go now. I just need to take the time to sit down and set up the pattern pages for them on Ravelry and get them published. I have another 6 or 7 that I need to write up, and then start getting those out to testers and stuff like that. So I'm hoping over the next few months to have a steady stream of new releases coming out for you guys. And yeah, so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, anyway, so moving on, I thought it would also be quite fun to, it would also be interesting to look at what my knitting goals, what my crafting goals were last year at the beginning of 2016 compared to now, and see what I've achieved and what I haven't achieved, and you know, what changed and stuff like that along the way. So I set myself pretty I wouldn't say hard and fast rules, but I set myself pretty clear targets and goals and things I wanted to achieve this year with my crafting. Some of them were quite like purposefully vague, and others were more purposefully specific. Oh, now Derek's deciding to leave. He's had enough of my chatter already. Hey? Okay, well, at least you got to see them for a little bit. So my goal last year was, at the beginning of this year, was to knit 50 pairs of socks. Blew that one out of the water, knit 90 pairs of socks, so that's definitely more than covered that. Keep designing, which I definitely have done, but I also wrote including children's wear and colour work patterns. So I haven't actually released any children's patterns or children's specific patterns or colour work specific patterns. A lot of my patterns involve striping, but when I'm talking about colour work as in either Fair Isle or sort of more intricate or more detailed colour work, like mosaic knitting or something, versus just striping. I haven't released any patterns for those yet, those sort of techniques yet, but I do have patterns in the works for those, and if I hadn't been pregnant and we hadn't had this move, I probably would have had those patterns released by now. I just sort of slowed down on the pattern writing front in the last few months because of everything that's been going on. I also had a goal of knitting at least 6 adult garments, and I did do that. I've knit 6 this year. But there again, I had a caveat that I wanted one to include stranded colour work and steeking. So whilst I didn't do stranded colour work or steeking in an adult garment, I've done both in children's garments more than once. So I've kind of done it, but not in the way that I'd originally intended. I put sew a quilt, and I did do that. I did a little baby quilt earlier in the summer. Or was it summer? Was it September? I think it was in September. I did a baby quilt for the little nugget. So I've definitely done that, and that was good because I wanted to get experience or just practice and just do a very simple baby quilt and see how that would work. Sew more clothes for myself was another target. Did not do a single thing for myself this year sewing wise, sewing clothing wise, mostly because I got pregnant, and then it became a little bit, I'm not going to say silly or like ridiculous, because I know there's a lot of maternity patterns, but I'm not an experienced clothing sewer or sewist by any stretch, and I didn't really want to have to mess around with fabrics and stuff and trying to accommodate for my growing belly and stuff like that, and it was just, and I wasn't feeling 100% great, and then with all the back pain and everything as well, the sewing just wasn't the most convenient thing to do, so I've kind of put that off. I'm gonna wait till after the baby's born and I like hopefully have lost some of the weight and all of that, and things will settle down a bit before I try to tackle clothing for myself. So that was that one. I had put a note that I wanted to do more collaborations with others in the community, and I've definitely done that. I've collaborated with indie dyers for patterns, with other podcasters for knit-alongs, and with some friends with Rib Magazine. So that was a lot of fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing more collaborations and working with others in the community over the next year or so as well. I had a couple of goals to keep on top of the knit-alongs I was participating in, and to keep on top of my Ravelry project pages, and I have completely failed on both those parts. I realised pretty early on that I'm not very good at partaking in knit-alongs or entering into knit-alongs. I just don't, it just doesn't work with my process and the way that I keep track of my projects and stuff, and especially, and same with Ravelry project pages. I know some people love them. It's just not a massive what's the word? It's just not a massive thing for me. I don't enjoy the process of updating Ravelry project pages. It feels like a chore, and if it feels like a chore, I don't want to do it, and I'd rather be knitting. So I just sort of have left that fall by the wayside, as it were. So yeah, I managed to keep on top of my Ravelry project pages until the middle of this year, around June time. Then I found out I was pregnant. Everything sort of slowed down at that point, and I just sort of stopped. And then I was away over the summer, and I really fell behind that way. And when I got back, I just never caught up. So I've just kind of left it, to be honest. And also with designing, it's quite difficult to keep up on the project pages because I don't necessarily want to share pictures of the finished designs until they're ready to be released and stuff. So it's just all a bit, it just wasn't easy for me to manage, if that makes sense. And the same with the knit-alongs. I've realised as well that as fun as it is to enter knit-alongs and to like win prizes and stuff, I'm incredibly fortunate, and I have made some amazing friends in the knitting community, and have some amazing viewers who on occasion, you know, decide they want to send me stuff, which I really, really appreciate. Like, I never expect it from anybody, but I do appreciate it like 1000% whenever someone does, or someone sends me something for a giveaway and stuff like that. So I feel like I've been so fortunate in receiving so much from the community already. I don't feel the need to enter into giveaways and stuff like that through knit-alongs. So if I do participate, it's usually in spirit. Like, I'll say, like, I'm partaking in, for example, like Kristen's box of socks cow for the Young Gasm podcast, but I won't enter a picture because, one, I don't have my box of socks with me, but two, I probably would forget and I would never get around to it. But it's not the point. The point is just taking part and enjoying the community experience. For me anyway, that's how I feel about it. And there again, I just don't want to have to stress out about trying to keep on top of Ravelry and maintaining project pages and entries and stuff like that on there. So that's kind of like what I feel about that right now. And then my final goal was to knit more than I purchase. and to knit down my stash this year, which at one point I thought was going to be impossible because of the amount of yarn that came into my stash in the first half of this year. So up until, say, July, August, I had quite a large amount of yarn coming in from 3 separate occasions. So January was Vogue Knitting Live. March, I went back to the UK, went to the Curious Handmade retreat, and I also did a fair bit of shopping, yarn shopping in London that trip. And also then in the summer when I was back in London, went to Fibre East, the yarn festival there. So there was those were 3 occasions where large quantities of yarn was purchased in a short space of time. But obviously throughout the year I've either purchased yarn or been sent yarn and stuff as well. But I still have managed to knit down my stash. I now have 22 skeins less in my stash than I did at the beginning of this year, even with all that yarn coming in. So I'm pretty chuffed about that. The only thing that I don't count as stash is yarn that I have set aside for giveaways or that people have sent me to use for giveaways. I don't count that as stash because it's not my yarn, it's for you guys. So that's that. And that pretty much covers everything for my 2016 statistics. I will have all of this written out in the show notes if you're interested and want to look through any of it in detail or want to check any of the numbers or anything like that if you're interested or curious. Those will be in the show notes as well, which I'll link down below. It's on the knittingexpat.wordpress.com blog, so you can find that there. Goals for 2017. I've not set myself any real hard and fast goals for 2017, to be honest, just because with the baby coming, I don't really know how it's going to affect my knitting. So the goals I've set myself is just to keep the knitting, designing and having fun. Like I said, not setting any hard and fast rules. And yeah, the baby's going to throw things off, I feel, for the first half of the year. I'm hoping to have all the designs that I currently have samples knit for, and I need to get the patterns written up. I'm hoping to get those written up and at least out to test knitters before the baby comes so that once I get feedback from them, it'll be quite a simple process then to just update and finalize the patterns and get them published. So I should still have some designs coming out in those initial few weeks after the baby's born, but my knitting output in general might be lower for the first few months of next year. It would still be nice to be able to keep on top of my stash and knit it down a bit more next year, but we will see how that goes. So, and also now that I'm here, I don't feel the need to purchase yarn the way that I did before when we traveled. So when we were in the Middle East, which is where we lived before, if you're new, there aren't any local yarn stores. There's no real, there's nowhere to go to buy yarn, and ordering yarn online can be a little bit tricky. Some places won't post to a PO box, and places that do, shipping can be quite expensive. So it was always just a bit of I always used to buy yarn when we traveled. But now that I'm here, now that we're in New York and we have access, and I have access to so many wonderful yarn stores and online retailers and stuff where shipping's not a problem, and I can go and see the yarn in person and purchase what I need when I need it, rather than buying in bulk, and say in bulk, but buying in larger quantities, and trying to plan for future projects. I can buy more specifically for what I need when I need it. So I won't feel the need to purchase huge amounts of yarn the way I did last year, or this year I guess. So I'm hoping I'll be able to keep on top of the stash this year, which would be nice, for this coming year. But yeah, so I'm interested to see, and again, like I said, I haven't set hard and fast rules because this is our first baby. I don't know how it's going to affect our lives. I know everything's going to be up in the air for a while until we get settled and have a bit of a routine down and all of that stuff. So I'm setting zero expectations, essentially, is what I'm saying. I'm not going to be too hard on myself. This is supposed to be fun, and if I can just keep knitting, put out a few more designs, and just keep up with the podcast, then I'll be more than happy with that. Right, that pretty much covers everything about the chatter stuff. That was quite long, I think probably what I'll end up doing is I'll put a timestamp at the beginning of this whole section, so if you're not interested you can skip straight to the knitting, because this has been almost 25 minutes now. And yeah, I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be back in a second. Back now with finished objects. I have quite a few things to show you guys this week in finished objects, lots of baby things. But first up, I have a pair of socks. This is pair number 88 for the year. So these are the socks by Oloops. The yarn is by Oloops. It's in their sport sock base, so it's sport weight. I knit these on 2.5mm needles, US 1.5s, with 56 stitches. And I've just done my German short row heel. I didn't bother doing the little heel flap on this one, or did I? No, I didn't. And just a rounded toes, my general vanilla pattern, which you can also find on Ravelry. That's a free download. And yeah, I really like how these turned out. There was a little self-striping colorway called Happy Pills. And if you can see, I kind of did the stripes so that they were alternating. So when one stripe has the speckle variegated, the other one has the purple, and then vice versa, the whole way down. So you can see the difference in the heel. One is the variegated, one is the purple. But yeah, so that was really, really soft as well. It is a merino nylon blend, but it's a very soft merino nylon blend. And yeah, I find that works pretty well. With sport weight yarn, I found 56 stitches on a US 1.5 gives a pretty good gauge. And then for regular fingering weight, I will use 64 stitches or 60 stitches and 2.25mm. And the difference in the stitch count will depend on the thickness of the fingering weight yarn. Hugo's gone back into his little spot there. He loves my pregnancy pillow. Over the last few days, he's discovered the joys of sleeping in the pregnancy pillow, in like the little dip in the bottom of it. So I find him there all the time now. In the evenings it's a bit difficult to move him, but he loves it. Right, back to finished objects. Next up, I finished the newborn vertebrae that I was working on last week, and that's how that turned out. I knit this out of, Verdant Griffin, their bugger base, which is actually a sport weight yarn, in the psychedelic peacock colorway. I love how this is knit up. It's basically every color of the rainbow. I think it works out pretty well for a baby knit. Really like how that worked out. And I knit this on 3.25mm and 2.75mm needles. That's the US 3 and the US 2. That's what the pattern calls for. But I found that actually doing it, I knit it exactly as the pattern was written, except I did a few decreases on the sleeves, because yeah, it just seemed a bit big otherwise. Either my gauge has loosened up a little bit since I first knit one of these, or it's the sport weight yarn, but it's definitely turned out bigger than the first one I ever knit, which was absolutely tiny. Like, it looked like a preemie size. But that was almost 2 years ago, so I would say that my gauge has probably just loosened up a little bit since then. But also using a thicker yarn, I think, has helped with that. So that's going to be for the little nugget. And then I also knit a matching swirl hat, baby size swirl hat, out of the leftovers. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry. I forgot to write down the name of the designer. So the newborn vertebrae is by Kelly Brooker on Ravelry. And the newborn vertebrae is a free pattern. She has other sizes from baby, child, like kiddie, and then adult, and those are all paid for versions, but the newborn size is a free pattern. And then the swirl hat is also a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's actually a very clever stitch pattern. And I knit this, the actual design for the baby size calls for a 3.25mm, I think it was, or 3.5mm needle, and I did it on 2.75mm needle, which is US 2. I did it slightly smaller because I wanted a nice denser gauge, because it is going to be winter when she's born, and I want this to be a nice sort of snug fitting hat. And yeah, so, and hopefully this will fit her, or if she has a really big noggin, a really big head, and this doesn't fit, then I can donate this or give it to another baby. And then The other baby knit that I was working on last week was the My Gift to You cardigan, which is by Tega Hillard, and that's a free pattern on Ravelry as well. And I knit that with 4 and 4.5 millimeter needles, so that's US 6 and 7. And this is how that turned out. I love how this turned out. I did make a couple of modifications, which I will talk about in a second. But the yarn is Malabrigo Rios in the Papyrus colorway, which I absolutely love. I had 2 skeins of this, and I absolutely love this colorway. And this cardigan took almost exactly 100 grams, and I think my skein was a little bit light because I had to start on the second skein just for the cuff of one sleeve. But I did knit the body a little bit longer than the pattern called for, and I knit the sleeves a little bit longer than the pattern called for as well. So if I hadn't done that, it would have been perfectly fine. So the modifications that I made was the bottom, before I bound off, I added a garter stitch border to match the collar. And then for the sleeves, I didn't do the texture pattern on the sleeves as the pattern called for. I just did it in stockinette, and again added a garter border before binding off. So those are the only changes I made to the pattern. I knit the smaller size, and I added some cute little ice cream cone buttons, if you can see that there, for that. And that's from the same sort of little bag of random buttons that I picked up when I was in the UK. So those are on there, and I can always change them later if I want to. Just I don't have my full stash of buttons at the moment to pick from, and these were the only 4 matching ones that I had in a colour that would go with this cardigan. But I really like it. I think it's really cute. And then to go with that, since I had a whole second skein, I thought I would knit a matching baby hat. And so this isn't a particular design. I just took texture pattern from the cardigan and cast on for a baby hat using the same size needles, 4 millimeter for the brim and then 4.5 for the body. So cute little set there. And then, since I still had plenty of yarn left over, I knit a larger adult size hat for myself in the same texture pattern. I'll put it on. Got it hooked on. I've got my hair in a bun at the moment, but you can see it still fits on quite nicely. It's a slightly slouchier design. I always knit my hats slightly slouchy so that they will fit over my hair if I have it up in a bun, or if it's out then it's just a bit slouchy in the back. The only thing I would say is I wish I had cast on fewer stitches for the ribbing and then increased for the main body, but I didn't. And again, like I said, this isn't a specific pattern, it was just something I made up on the go based on some of my other designs I used for stitch counts. So that's that. It's got matching mummy and baby hats, which is actually the only thing I've done that's matching so far for me and the baby. Probably won't do too many like that, but I couldn't resist because I love this yarn so much and I wanted something for myself out of it as well. So those are the latest stack of baby things. And the other 2 finished objects that I have to show you are some washcloths that I was working on. Again, I have, for the most part, been just working on these projects, and I didn't really want to start another big project before the new year, so I was trying to figure out what I could do, and I didn't really want to cast on more socks because I already have 2 going, and I was like, you know what, I have some Knit Picks comfy sport weight in my stash that I brought with me that I wasn't sure what I was going to do with, and I thought those would be quite nice for washcloths for the baby because they're going to be really soft against baby skin, and washcloths is going to be handy. I was like, well, we were probably planning on buying some anyway, so I may as well make some. So that's what I did. And first up, I used this, it was a simple sort of slip stitch pattern, and it's made this really dense fabric. It's really dense actually. I did them on 3.5 millimeter needles with the Knit Picks Comfy Sport in the Planetarium colorway, so it's this nice deep sort of navy blue color. Which will work fine. It's just a small washcloth. It's about 6 inches square. And then I had plenty of that skein left over because they come in 50 gram skeins. And I did another one, and this one I did in Fisherman's Rib, again with 3.5 millimeter needles. These haven't been washed or blocked yet, I only finished them yesterday. But yeah, it's a really nice sort of stretchy rib, fisherman rib pattern, which gives a similar effect to brioche, but there's no purling, it's all knits all the way. So it's a really fun and easy pattern. And I actually have a tutorial on how to do a fisherman rib sort of chunky cowl, and it's basically exactly the same. I just cast on more stitches and I didn't seam it at the end. So that video is on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out if you want to know. And I have instructions on how to knit the fisherman's rib in the description box. But it's a very simple stitch pattern. You can probably find instructions online elsewhere as well if you wanted to. But yeah, and so this one, I actually cast on 10 fewer stitches for this than I had for this washcloth. But you can see how much of a difference the stitch pattern makes in the finished size of a project. So this one has 45 stitches cast on, this one was 35, and look how much bigger this is. This is about 9 inch squared, sorry. And yeah, and this one's obviously a bit bigger, a bit looser gauge, so this will also work perfectly fine as a washcloth. And so I have a few more skeins of that, so you know, if I have some free time and I want to knit on something once I finish the socks, but I don't want to start another big project, I might just do a couple more washcloths to sort of fill in the gap between now and the new year. So that covers all my finished objects, and I think I've pretty much gone over the details of all the yarns and needle sizes and stuff like that for those. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anything. If I have, they will be in the show notes. And moving on to works in progress, I have 2 things for works in progress to show you. The first one's open, so I'll show you these. These are the cobblestone socks that I've been working on for Perry. Get this out and show you. So it's one of my designs from the Beyond Vanilla Socks collection, part 1. It's the second pattern in part 1. So just a 2x2 rib at the top. It's being knit on 2.25mm US ones, 64 stitches. I popped the heels in. I did the heels yesterday, I think it was. And I've just finished. I did the little mini heel flap gusset that I've started doing on a lot of my socks, and I've just finished doing the gusset decreases. So back to just knitting the pattern. Sorry, the cable is just being uncooperative today. And yeah, these should be finished pretty soon. At this point, it's just zoom along the foot, and then we will be done. And the yarn is by Nooch Fibre, hand dyed. Focus on the label. Focus. There we go. Hopefully that will now. It's on the Midtown sock base. It's a 75-25 merino nylon. Oh, geez. Okay, sorry about that. The 75-25 merino nylon sock yarn, 463 yards and 100 grams, and it's in the red Honor colorway. And yeah, just a couple of little balls left in there to finish off the feet, and that'll be done pretty quickly. Then the other work in progress I have to show you is my Christmas Eve cast on. And the yarn I'm using for this is Wool & Vine yarns on Kristen's Footsie base. Come on, there we go. On her Footsie base in the Deck the Halls colorway. Oh, jeez. You can see that there. It's her Christmas color, one of her Christmas colorways from last year. And this is how they're looking. Again, I've just passed the heel and done the gusset decreases. This is just a plain vanilla sock because I knew we were going to be going to the cinema, so I wanted to have something I could just knit on without having to worry about pattern. Again, 2x2 rib cuff, straight down the leg, done the heels with a little mini heel flap gusset, and now it's just zooming along the foot until we get to the toes. So that'll be done this week as well. And that's pen number 90 for the year, which is really fun. I think that pretty much covers it on the sock front. And again, that's just a simple vanilla sock pattern. Nothing complicated at all about that. And I think Hugo's fallen asleep in the background. Okay, I'm going to take another quick break, and then I will be back with some lovely acquisitions to show you. And yeah, I'll be back in a bit. Back with acquisitions. I just had to arrange my stuff. First thing I wanted to say was from last week's acquisition segment, I showed you some really lovely yarn that Miriam sent me from her farm in New York State, and it was the alpaca yarn. So it was the Suffolk sheep that she has called Sal mixed with alpaca yarn. And I forgot to mention that she has an Etsy shop called The Constant Thread, where you can buy that yarn, and she has 2 other types of yarn for sale that have been made from the sheep that she has on her farm. So I will have that linked in the show notes this week and in the episode thread as well for you guys. I had a few people contact me asking about where they could purchase the yarn, so I just wanted to let you know that I did find out that information. I just forgot to mention it, and I will put it in the show notes this week for you guys, for anyone who's interested. Okay, and so I have a mixture of goodies that people have sent me and things that I purchased myself this last week. So I think we will start with the things that I purchased. So what I purchased this week was 3 skeins of worsted weight yarn to knit my to knit the shawl pattern for the mystery knit along, so I can knit along with you guys. So I ended up going to Woolen last week on Tuesday. You can see the bag there. Last week on Tuesday, after I podcasted, and yeah, that I went with the intention of trying to find yarn for the mystery knit along, and yeah, I ended up settling on the Fibre Company Cumbria worsted. This is their worsted base. It's 216 meters or 236 yards in 100 grams, so that's more than plenty for the shawl. You need 3 colors, a minimum of 200 yards of each. Preferably you'd have a little bit more than that, just a bit of a buffer, but you know, just to be safe. And I ended up settling, I remember asking on Instagram for feedback and for help deciding on colors. I ended up settling on these 3 colors. And so starting from the sort of chartreusey green color is Helvellyn. The one in the fuchsia in the middle is Cowberry, and the blue on the tealy blue on the end is Eden Valley. And I was trying umming and ahhing between this teal blue and like a more neutral beige color, and quite a lot of people, and I sort of posted a couple of pictures to Instagram, and a lot of people preferred the beige color, partly because I don't think the lighting was particularly great for the photos to show off the teal, but I went with the teal, obviously, as you can see here, because it provided the better contrast. The beige was very close in colour value to this chartreusey green, and there wasn't really going to be enough contrast between the 2 colours. One of the ladies in the store, I was trying to decide, was saying that you should telling me about the trick where you put your camera into black and white mode to see the contrast levels between them. And when I did that, I noticed instantly that this was going to be the right colour combination, because each one of these is at a different sort of contrast level to the others, whereas the beige and the chartreusey green were very close in grayscale, like they looked almost the same color, so there wasn't going to be much contrast there, which is why I settled on these 3, and I'm really happy with them. And yeah, now I just have to wind them up. Well, I'll be hand winding these because I don't have my ball winder or Swift, so I'm looking forward to that. Now that I've shown them, I can get to winding, and so yeah, that'll be fun. I'll be ready to cast on with everyone else who's taking part on the 1st of January, so that's exciting. Then next up, I was sent a knitter's tool tin. I believe that's what it was called. Just check the letter. Yeah, knitter's tool tin by the lovely Sarah, who is the sexy knitter on Etsy and Instagram, and she sent me one of these to review. And I actually sent her the background picture, which is the same as my banner picture on the blog and the podcast group and on the channel, YouTube channel. And so she kindly put that on the tin on one of her black tins for me with the phrase, if that will focus on it, knit fast, dye warm, which I felt out of all the options she had on her website, she has some really funny ones on Etsy. Go check them out, some really good jokey ones and really fun pictures and cute photos. But out of all the phrases, this one sort of spoke to me the most. It's like knit fast, dye warm. Feels like that's my motto in life at the moment. So that's the one I went for. And I thought I'd just quickly show you what comes on the inside. So everything, I think the one that she sent me was her deluxe tool tin, or I can't remember which version she sent me. I think she has two options. There's like a deluxe and then like a light version. It doesn't say which one this is, she just says tool tin. So I'm pretty sure she offers two options in terms of what comes in it, but the one she sent me comes with a whole host of things, including, I'll show you this first. She's got a really strong magnet in the top here where she's got 3 different size tapestry needles attached to, so when you're looking for a tapestry needle to weave in your ends, that's nice and easy. And then in the rest of the tin, I'll just tip this out and I'm going to show you quickly. One of these, a tape measure, which is this little sheepy shape, which she tells me is exclusively made for her Etsy shop. Ooh. There's a stitch marker row counter that will go straight onto your work as well. There's a bunch of these lockable stitch markers, which are always handy to have around, and these are in sort of rainbow colours. There's a stitch holder, again always handy to have around. There's one of those fix-it crochet hooks, so there's 2 different size crochet hooks at either end, which is great for fixing drop stitches. There's keep that in there. One of these little snips, again always handy to have around. I have a couple of those and they're finding incredibly useful. We'll just pop these onto this quickly. There's a cable needle and also some paper origami star stitch markers, which are also incredibly cute as well. Almost lost one there, which are incredibly cute. And again, always handy to have some lightweight stitch markers. And finally is this, what looks like a ball of yarn with holes in it, but it is in fact when you flip it over, it's a needle gauge, which again handy to have around if you're not sure what size needles you're using. And all of that fits neatly into the tool tin, and that will fit nicely in one of your project bags, which is great. And yeah, so Sarah has actually sent me a sort of promotional code to share with you guys, which I'll be sharing on Instagram next week, so keep an eye out for that post. If you don't follow me on Instagram already, you can follow me there as Knitting Expat, at Knitting Expat on Instagram, and yeah, I'll be posting about that promotion next week for you guys, so make sure you check that out. And finally, I was sent a lovely package from a lovely viewer and Etsy store owner, SS from Canada. And she wanted to send me some of the stuff that she makes and sells to try out, and also some as a prize for you guys. So first things first, she sent me this adorable little crocheted hat for the baby, which is really cute, and it's really soft and warm, so that will hopefully, she'll grow into that at some point, and that'll be perfect to keep her head warm. She sent me some stitch markers. These are the ones she sent for me to try out. 2 different types of stitch markers there. She sent me a skein of her hand-dyed yarn. So her Etsy shop is crityarnhandmade.etsy.com. I will have that in the show notes as well for you guys. And there's this beautiful speckled, variegated colorway, multicolored speckled colorway called Satrangi. Satrangi, I think is how you pronounce it. I'll try and get that to focus. There we go. Satrangi is the colorway, and it's a beautiful soft blend. It's just really soft. It's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, 460 yards in 100 grams. It's on her Rosanna sock base, and yeah, really lovely soft yarn there. And then she also sent me one of her project bags, and it's a really lovely sort of padded project bag with a bell zipper pull. It's beautifully quilted, it's nice and thick, and the lining is lavender. This is lavender fabric, and then on the outside is just a floral purple fabric. And there's one of those DPN cozies. And there's also a divider in the middle, so this is great for 2 at a time socks or any other sort of 2-color projects. And there's also a pocket in here as well. So thank you so much for SS for sending me this. It's a beautiful, beautiful project bag, yarn, and the stitch markers. And she also sent the same for you guys. So I'll show you really quickly. I'm not going to take it out of the plastic just to keep it nice and protected from all the cat fur that's around. But the project bag she sent for you guys is the white butterflies, and it has this purple on the lining. And the yarn is the same skein of yarn that she sent me, and then there's another 2 sets of stitch markers. There's one on this side, one on the other side for you guys as well. So this is going to be a prize at some point as well. So thank you so much for sending that across. And yeah, and that pretty much wraps up the acquisition segment for this week. I don't have any knit-along news other than what I've already told you about the mystery knit-along. Q&A, there were no questions this last week from anybody, so that's fine, there's no questions to answer. If you do have any questions for me, by all means, feel free. There is a questions and suggestions thread in the podcast group, so by all means pop in there, ask away. I do have an FAQ video that I have done, which is posted at the top of that page, so you can check there to see if your question has already been answered in that video, because I answer the most commonly asked questions in that video. And so if someone asks a question that I've already answered, I generally just tend to refer them back to that video, or I will answer it on the podcast if it's a new question, or it's one I haven't answered in a while. Okay, and finally, week in review. I feel like I've been talking for ages, but I also don't feel like it's actually been that long. First things first, I did post a quick little vlog yesterday on YouTube for which covers the last sort of from like the 15th to the 25th of December, so up until Christmas Day. It was just little clips from the few days leading up to Christmas. It was nothing specific. It wasn't I wasn't being overly conscious about vlogging. It was just little bits and pieces when we were doing something that I thought would be worth sharing. I took a little bit of video, and so it starts with Derek's adventures with the snow. It was snowing a couple of weeks ago, and he was just like absolutely bewildered by it. He had no idea what to make of the snow, which is very adorable. And yeah, some little clips of the cats, and then out and about, went to a couple of Christmas markets. And then what else did we do? We went and checked out the Christmas tree at the Rockefeller Center, which was quite fun. And then what else have we done this last week? I met up for lunch with Jacqueline, who has the Brooklyn Knit Podcast, and that was also a lot of fun, getting to see her. And I think that pretty much covers the stuff that was in the vlog. On Christmas Eve, Perry and I were craving donuts, or cronuts, in the morning, so we headed out to a place called the Donut Pub, sorry. And we went and grabbed a donut, or cronuts rather, so I vlogged that. And then Christmas Day in itself was a bit of a crazy day. I'll come back to that later. But we also went and saw Rogue One on Christmas Eve. That was really good. I really enjoyed that film. It was better than what I expected. So in that sense, I guess it's really good. I really enjoyed it. And then I already talked about having gone to Woolen last week. I'm just checking my list. Yeah, that pretty much covers most of what happened. We did have a bit of a debacle at the beginning of last week, or towards the end of, in the few days before I podcasted last week, where the boys were being very reluctant to eat their dry food. We'd ordered some dry food for them off Amazon. I couldn't find the usual dry food we feed them, and they were being very fussy. They weren't eating it. They kept like crying for more food. But when their bowls were full, but they just didn't like the dry food they were having. They'd eat the wet food fine, but the dry food in particular, they were not happy about it. And anyway, I managed to find the dry food that we normally feed them on Amazon. I just think they didn't have it in stock when I first looked. Sorry about the sirens. But anyway, so we ordered it and it came, and they absolutely love it. They were just like, yes, okay, this is our food again. And they've been happy since then. But there was a bit of debacle about that, but thankfully that was easily sorted. But like I said earlier in the podcast, Hugo's been not feeling particularly great with his toilet habits. We noticed it for the few days, sort of like over the Christmas period, and because it's happened in the past with Derek, I know that as long as they are still passing urine, it's not a super emergency. It's only if they are completely blocked and are unable to pass urine or are crying when they're using the litter box that it's really an emergency. So we were keeping an eye on it, hoping that it would clear up, but it didn't. So yesterday I made an appointment. We took Hugo to the vet, and the vet, the animal hospital we took him to was literally just 3 blocks down the road from here. So Perry was like, oh, we can just walk it. I was like, okay, if you want. He's the one who's got to carry Hugo. So we put Hugo in the crate and we carried him down there. He did not enjoy it. He was crying the whole way. It was really loud. There was loads of people in the streets, and he was just not enjoying his little New York City adventure. But we got there, he got checked out, and the vet pretty much confirmed everything that we already knew. Like I said, we've had this issue in the past with Derek. It's not, I don't think it's an infection. I don't think he's caught a bug or anything, because with Derek in the past it's been behavioural. It's stress related for him, and I'm pretty sure it's the same for Hugo. It's just a new place, the whole move and everything's probably just catching up with him, and maybe he's just a bit stressed out, and I think that's what's caused it. Although he seems pretty fine right now, he's just sleeping. But that's the thing, like, his behavior hasn't changed otherwise. He's eating, he's drinking, he's, you know, playing and sleeping like normal, but he's just not peeing as much as he normally. He doesn't pee in large amounts, he just pees little bits every now and again. So yeah, they've taken a sample from him to run some tests, just rule out bacterial infection to be sure. He's on some anti-inflammatories right now, and we sort of switched them to mostly wet food for the next few days, hopefully until it clears up. We should hear back from the vets later today, this evening or tomorrow, about whether or not it's bacterial, or if there's an infection, if he needs antibiotics. She did ask if we wanted to start him on antibiotics, and there was not much point if it's not an infection. So, you know, you don't need to stress him out by giving him more pills when he doesn't need it. And yeah, so that's what we're doing for now. And I think he's starting to pee a little bit better than he was before. Just haven't been able to catch him in the litter box too frequently. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers that. Christmas Day, I'll come back to that now. Christmas Day, like I said, was a little bit more crazy than we'd anticipated. One of Perry's friends, his birthday is actually on Christmas Day. And so he was organising basically whoever didn't have plans for Christmas Day to get together and go for brunch somewhere. So he'd organised for this Christmas brunch at this restaurant in the meatpacking district, and we were like, okay, yeah, we'll go. We don't have any other plans, it'll be fun. And we looked it up online just to check out the menu and stuff like that, just make sure there was stuff that I could eat and all of that. And I was like, yeah, and we looked at the Christmas Day, so serving their Christmas Day brunch menu and with a DJ set. And we're like, okay, you know, there might be some Christmas music, it'll be sort of like happy, jolly sort of Christmas time type of things, playing jingle bells and stuff like that. We get there, no. It's like we walked into a nightclub. It was crazy. It was so loud. There was like strobe light, coloured lights going off everywhere. So we barely hear each other. Like, I was sat right next to Perry and we barely hear each other. It was so loud in there. But it was actually a lot of fun in the end. At first we were a bit dubious. We were like, okay, what is this that we've walked into? But we ended up having a really good time. It got really rowdy. You know, people were dancing the whole time. The waiters were dancing. It was actually encouraged to get up and stand on chairs and tables and dance away. But at the end of the afternoon, things got very rowdy. Everything broke out into a full-on sort of conga line around the restaurant with everyone. Giant desserts with sparklers coming out of them. It was just madness. But it was really good fun. Like I said, it's one of those things that we had not expected it at all walking into it. But after the fact, it was just one of those things you look back on, you're like, actually, that was a pretty fun experience. And it's not like we're going to be doing that again next year with a baby. So I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we went. And we had a really good time with friends, which was good. and we ended off the night at a rooftop bar, which was at the hotel next door to the restaurant that we'd gone to. And that, by stark contrast, was so quiet and so calm and so relaxing. And it was really nice. There were some nice views out over the city and the river. And then on Boxing Day, as it happened, one of my cousins who lives down in or near Atlanta was up in New York over Christmas. His wife has two sisters who both live in New York with their families, so they came up to New York over the Christmas period to spend time with his wife's family. And so he got in touch with me before they came up to say we should try and catch up. So we arranged to go see them for lunch on Boxing Day, or day after Christmas. I don't know if you guys call it Boxing Day here in the US or not. And so that was really fun. It was so fun to see them again. I hadn't seen my cousin in 8 years. 8 years, I think it was the last time, 8 years ago was the last time I saw him. So he has two kids now who I'd never met, and they are so adorable. I think they're like 5 and 4, I think, or roughly around that sort of age. And his wife's sisters, one of them has just had a baby 6 weeks ago, and the other one is 38 weeks pregnant, and she actually lives only a few blocks away from where our apartment is going to be. So we're in the same neighborhood, and she's like 6 weeks ahead of me pregnancy wise. So that was really nice to get to meet them. I hadn't met her sisters before, so it was nice to get to meet them, and it's nice to know there's another new mum who's going to be in our area as well. So that would be nice to sort of stay in touch with her and things as well. And another thing that I totally forgot to mention, but my cousin, he's an anesthesiologist, and his wife is actually an OBGYN. A gynecologist. And so when I was having that whole debacle trying to find a doctor a couple of weeks ago, it was only after I found my doctor that I remembered that my cousin's wife was a gynecologist. And I was just kicking myself, and I was just like, why did I not remember this sooner? Because I could have asked her for some help or advice at least, or got some tips. And the only reason I remembered actually was when I was doing a bit of background research into the doctor that I ended up going with. Turns out the doctor I've gone with went to the same medical school as my cousin's wife, and that's what reminded me. And I was like, dang it. That would have saved me some stress, but it's okay. It's all sorted now, and yeah, it was so nice to see them. Like I said, it had been years, and so it was nice. And Perry had obviously never met them before either, so it was nice for Perry to start to meet some members of my family who are over here. And yeah, I imagine, like I said, we'll probably be doing quite a few trips around the US visiting family over the next few months as well. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for today. I don't think I have anything else to share. That pretty much covers most things. We finally sort of settled down and created a list of baby things we still need to get. We pick up the keys to our apartment on tomorrow. So yeah, tomorrow's Thursday, which is really exciting. I can't wait. They come and connect the internet on Friday, so that'll be really fun. And then next, we're in this apartment until the 5th of January here. So we probably won't move until the 4th or 5th. Give us a few days to sort out some basic stuff for us to be able to live in an empty apartment until our furniture shows up. Last we heard from the moving company, the furniture should be arriving into the port on the 7th of January. Then who knows how long it's going to take to actually clear customs. So that could take anything from a week to however long they decide they want to take to check the container. So fingers crossed we'll have our furniture around mid to end of January. Really hopeful that it'll be before the end of the month, because that would be really nice. But in the meantime, I know that we'll be able to get most of the baby things sorted by then. There's really no big deal about the furniture coming after the baby is born. The main concern I have, and really the only concern that I had, and the reason why I didn't want it to happen that way, was because I really didn't want to be dealing with a newborn in a lot of dust and stuff and all the mess that's involved with unpacking and stuff like that. I mean, the movers do all the unpacking and stuff like that, but there's going to be a lot of dust and noise and disruption, and it's going to be difficult enough with the cats to keep them calm and keep them like away from the movers, but then to also try and like wrangle a baby, you know, in those early days, it's just not something I really wanted to have to deal with. Obviously, if that's what's happened, if that is what happens, then this is what happens. But we'll deal with it. We deal with everything so far, but at the same time, it would be nice not to have to deal with it. Yeah. So I think that pretty much sums it up. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope you all had a lovely Christmas or holiday weekend, whatever you celebrated, and wish you all a happy new year. I will be back in 2017. I'm not sure when I will be podcasting next week because of us moving and stuff, but if I don't podcast next week, then I will hopefully have a vlog to go up for you guys at some point next week instead of a podcast, but we will see. I am not making any promises. Like I said, things are going to be a little bit hectic until we've moved in and our furniture arrives, so we'll just have to see how it goes. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a lovely week ahead, and once again, Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys in 2017. All right, take care. Bye.